Mike Alcala.
Am
You know, I think that this being, I believe, if not mistaken, is the birth of AA today. I just happened to notice that, which is a very miraculous thing, and I think that a lot of times, rightfully so, look at Bill W. as the most important person, but I tell you, this guy that he read about, I have to say, if there is such a thing, probably is the second most important. At least to me, he's made AA possible for me to get. This particular gentleman. Because I don't think that I would have gotten it had there not been, as we understood him in step 3 and step 11. I don't think I would have gotten the program because I came in here gripped by a belief of God of my childhood, and I think I'm not the only one. I've heard enough people share about it. And the idea of, as we understood it, or having my own conception, is something that allows me to try at some point to get a God that's going to forgive me for what I've done, but expects me to live differently. This particular guy is very illustrative. I mean, a lot of times we think, God had his hand in this program, and I think he must have, because I don't see how anybody with a couple of years sober could have written that 164 pages like he did. He wrote it, they approved it, but he wrote it. But the thing about it is even more deeper. I believe that the people that came together really show me that God had his hand in this, because this particular guy was a guy, and he's referred to in the 12 and 12 as Ed, but he is Jimmy B. Whiskey and Milkman in the first 164 pages of More About Alcoholism. He used to come in the meetings, and anytime anybody would mention God, he would stand up and start screaming and yelling, and there was problems going on. He was disrupting AA as a whole. He was a card-carrying atheist, and any mention of God, this guy was going ballistic. The true story. And he had another guy that joined him, Hank P., who wrote Employers, but he was the two card-carrying atheists, and Bill had enough of these two guys disrupting AA. I mean, there was fights being broken out. And they had to get together and decide, should we ban these guys? Because they are fucking AA up over here with all this screaming and yelling. People want to talk about God that just got sober, and here's these two guys raising holy hell. This is a true story, you can look it up. So they had this big meeting with these two cats, and Bill said this, and this changed AA history, and this is what I'm saying, it made it possible for me to get these steps, because Bill said, if I add, as we understood him in step 3 and step 11, will y'all shut the fuck up and let me finish writing this book? And I'm paraphrasing, he didn't actually probably say that. I don't know if they had that word back then. But he basically told them, hey man, if I do this, will y'all be cool? And they said, yes, if you'll add that in the steps, we will be cool. And I don't know about you, but that addition to that step really made it possible for me to get AA. I don't know that I would have gotten it if it just said God without as we understood it. So, we think Bill as being the most important, and that's when I started off going, this guy may be the second most important. But I can most assuredly tell you, if Bill made the book for us, that word, those words in that step, opened up the program for all the millions that have come after it. Because the as we understood him gave me an opportunity to let go of the bonds of my stringent upbringing and have a God of my own. And I think that that's universal with anybody you talk to in AA. And God had his hand in putting that volatility in early AA through the vehicle of this gentleman and the strife that brought about it to make AA possible for millions. And the real lesson from his story, if you recall, in More About Alcoholism, it says he made a beginning, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. That's the one quote that's known more than anything for Whiskey and Milkman. He failed to enlarge his spiritual life. And now that I know that he was a card-carrying atheist, it's no wonder, because he had none. He had no spiritual life. It's so cloaked and steeped in history that I miss the very lesson of the story unless I know the party they're talking about in his belief system. And now that I know he was a card-carrying atheist, it's no wonder he had a problem. And the real lesson, and this is for any newcomer that's here, The real lesson is that he came around to our way of thinking and he stayed sober. So whatever problem I think I have with God, it pales in comparison to Jim's. And he was able to make it. And thank God for this story. And thank God for AA's birthday today. I think it was today or yesterday. I might be wrong about this. But it's unbelievable, right? I mean, it's been around for, somebody can tell you how many years, but I'm glad to still be sitting here after the length of time that I've been here. And it's more than some and not as much as some others, but I've made this a way of life. And if you're new, you need to make this a way of life. Somebody's already said, you know, if I veer too far away from the meetings in the program, my mind just starts going back to that old way of thinking. And if I'm lucky, I'll make it back. But if I keep coming here and doing what I need to do, I am absolutely certain that I won't drink before midnight. And that is something I never could tell you before. And my day starts over at midnight. And it has to be that on a daily basis. So if you're new, recovery is possible. I've had a spiritual awakening through the result of these steps.